I want to go on over into bring in our, CME guest, normally joining us from the floor today from his office at home. We have Scott Bauer. He's the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Scott, welcome to the Future Show. Thanks for joining us. I saw the UK finance minister announce that GDP is going to take, potentially a 30% hit on coronavirus impact. I'm wondering, are we hearing any credible estimates in terms of how much, a hit to U.S. GDP? Have you heard anything as far as what we could see here?
Well, I've heard a lot, as you probably have as well, Ben. But what is credible and what is not, I think, is all up in the air at this point. I don't know that anybody really knows. I don't know that any absolute analyst knows what it is. I don't know that the government knows what it's going to be yet. And maybe some of the reports that we're going to get later this week will help identify that. But at this point, I think everything is just summation, quite frankly.
Scott, we were just talking about earnings this week in terms of some of the individual names we're going to be keeping an eye on. Stephanie joined me to break it down. We were talking financial stocks. We were talking healthcare. You just mentioned some of the economic data coming later this week. What are you going to be dialed in on as far as some of those numbers? I saw retail sales. I saw a lot of Fed speakers as well. What's your focal point going to be?
Man, if this isn't like the mishmash of numbers that we're going to get this week, I don't know what is. And it's going to be very difficult to really just kind of rank what we get this week and what is relevant to the market. But the two that I'm keying in on, you just hit on one of them, are retail sales, because this is going to be maybe the first time that we actually see retail sales that have reflected some of the economic downturn due to the coronavirus. So let's see maybe how bad things have been for the consumer. As we know, the consumer had led the entire market, had led the rally for years. Have they really pulled back? What is going on there? So this could be the first look, and I believe that is on Wednesday. And then Thursday, again, we're going to get jobless claims. Is it going to be another drastic number? Are we going to get another 5 or 6 million number? I don't know what it is, but it certainly is going to be a very, very large number. And then on Friday, following up from what, that GDP news coming out of the UK was, coming up on Friday, we're going to get Eurozone CPI. So that could be pretty important as well.
Okay. We'll keep an eye on those numbers. We also have, I noticed, NFIB, a lot of focus on how small businesses are weathering this storm. Speaking of small business as well, business across the board. Last week, Powell mentioned how unemployment's coming off a 50-year low. He said it's, to likely lower levels, but he also mentioned how this could be temporary. I wonder if this is wishful thinking or, as we were talking before, nothing here, I guess, at this point, is really based on real data, Scott.
Exactly right. And listen, I have the utmost respect for Jerome Powell and the rest of the people that sit on the Fed. I really do. But again, I don't think there's any data at this point. There's no hard data that can, point to, is the recovery a week, a month, 6 months from now, and how big that recovery is going to be.
Scott, let's talk a little bit about central bank activity to come. It's still a little bit off on the horizon, but a lot of focus. We got Bank of Canada this week, but then in a couple weeks, the Fed, the ECB, the Bank of Japan. I'm wondering, with all this transparency, what's left to do or say? I mean, at this point, is it really just going to be a summary of what's been playing out, or are there potentially moves, actions that they could take that are unexpected and not necessarily unannounced?
Well, we got a big announcement last week, Ben, that I think pretty much floored every expert and analyst out there, the fact that the Fed was going to buy some high-yield debt. I don't think, there's many people that out there that could have predicted that. So, maybe they have some more up their sleeve that they're holding back just in case here. But, man, oh, man, it sure seems like, they have just absolutely unloaded and emptied all the ammunition they have in their carts. But, really anything is up for grabs here. I would really focus in on what Japan is doing also, because I don't think that they have unleashed, their central bank has unleashed anywhere near what we have done here. And I would expect them to start catching up pretty quickly.
All right, last but not least, Scott, because first up in terms of charts I want to take a look at after we say goodbye is my energy products. Can you talk to us in terms of the OPEC decision over the weekend and, the very subdued kind of limited reaction too in terms of crude products? What's it telling you?
Wow, it just tells you how much uncertainty there still is, Ben. And you still look at that curve, crude futures between now and going out 6 months. I mean, you look at that news that came out on Friday, the big spike, the big sell-off, and then we actually get that agreement over the weekend. And like you said, it's completely subdued. And I think that's all because of the uncertainty. And it's really proving out, Ben, as we have discussed so many times, that it is not necessarily just a supply issue, that it is a demand issue. And the uncertainty really lies on, when is that demand going to start picking up?
Yeah. Scott, I wish we had the answers. At some point we will, and we hope to discuss the dust settling after we do get some of those answers with you. Really appreciate you joining us in here, starting the week with us on the TD Ameritrade Network. Trader Scott Bauer, the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. Scott, a great breakdown. Thanks again.